Hello everybody, it's Fallen Princess back with another video for you guys, and today we're starting a new series. It's going to be called Brands, a History. Essentially what we're going to be doing is that we're going to look at when the brand got created by whom, and then all the trends that happened throughout the years and where we are at now. The whole point of this is to kind of show where Lolita started from and where it ended up now. So even though this brand may not be, your taste, I hope you can still find this very interesting just to see every single types of trends that came through Lolita throughout the years. So yeah, let's have some fun. The first brand that we're going to talk about is Juliette et Justine. It's actually my favorite brand, and it was founded in 2001 by Mari Nakamura. Mari Nakamura was the original founder of Victoria Maiden, but after a dispute with the head designer, she ended up parting ways and creating her own brand. Juliette et Justine is based on 16th and 17th century fashion. It's Mari Nakamura's favorite centuries style-wise, and she really wanted to make the brand as accessible as possible to different age groups and body shapes, so that's why Juliette et Justine has a bunch of different sizing options and also offers custom sizing. So you can request the dress be made a little bit bigger, a little bit smaller. So it's all in the hopes of catering to as many different people as possible and to make the brand as accessible as possible as well. The name Juliette et Justine actually was given to Mari by Novala Takemoto, who was mostly known for his work on Kamikaze Girl and also was in a bunch of Gothic Lolita Bibles as somebody who liked to really think about what Lolita fashion represented as far as, Japanese society. So it was him that gave her the name, and that's where the brand went from there. Mari Nakamura and Juliette et Justine actually recognizes that a lot of their brand is sold to foreigners, so anybody outside of Japan. Around 40% of their client base is actually from outside of Japan, so that's also why they want to make the brand as accessible as possible. Juliette et Justine started attending bigger events outside of Japan in 2012. First, they went to a London tea party that actually had a bunch of different foreign Lolitas and different Lolita celebrities, and they had a fashion show, and I'm going to put a bunch of pictures on the side over here so you can kind of peruse and see what that looked like. But that was kind of the first foray that Juliette et Justine had with the outside world outside of Japan. In 2013, Juliette et Justine was invited to go to Anime North in Canada, and in the beginning of 2014 they attended. It was actually the first time that I got to meet the lovely head designer and to get a first glimpse of the next collections that were to come that weren't even announced yet. I was so very excited. It was such a blast to be able to see all the new designs, and we really could see the new direction that the brand was taking in regards to design, which will come a little bit later with the trends. But the head designer was so nice and sweet, and she even told me that she very much liked the fact that I was wearing her brand because she liked the way that I coordinated it, and I was very pretty, and I just felt like crying and dying right on the spot. But it was such a touching moment for me. It was really the highlight of my Lolita career, and I hope to meet her again, and I hope she's going to come to Canada again, because now that I'm no longer a student, I would totally apply to be one of their models on the runway. But it was such a great event, and we really had fun. It was fun to see that Japanese brands had interests in Canada because it was one of the first that came. Also in 2014, they went to the United States and Spain to showcase their different collections. In 2015, they got invited to go to Honolulu. A museum was having an exhibit in regards to Harajuku fashion, and they invited other Lolita celebrities like Misako Aoki to attend. It seemed like it was a lot of fun and with a lot of different colorful characters and beautiful fashion styles, so that was also another foray that they had, which was very different than just going to tea parties and having a fashion show. In 2016, they got invited to go to PMX in the United States, where they had a beautiful, lavish fashion show. In 2016, they went to the Netherlands and also held a beautiful, lavish tea party in Shanghai. They just seem to be so over the top and beautiful. Really, we'll get to it when we're going to get into the most recent one, but I hope that one day I can attend one of these. It seems like such another level than what we have in Canada. So really, it seems like it's another level. It's literally another level. I want to go. In 2018, they manufactured different pairs of shoes, and it was really the beginning of something completely new that they did. And now in 2019, very recently, you can still see it on their blog, there was the beautiful Shanghai tea party, the most recent one, and it just seemed so amazing. And I will put pictures here so you can drool, and why are we not worthy of this? I just want to have that experience once in my life. But one day when I'm rich enough, if there's another Shanghai tea party, I might buy a ticket and go. But I'm not at that point and stage in my life, so it'll be what it'll be, right? Now we're at the most interesting part of the segment. So now we're going to go through the different trends and how they made their clothes throughout the years. So because I'm a total Juliette Justine fan, I actually have a bunch of their clothes. So I can show you pretty much one piece per year. There are some gap years where I don't own anything. But generally speaking, you'll be able to see how things change in regards to how they made their clothes. Even though the brand got founded in 2001, I actually do not own any pieces from that year, so we will start in 2002. In 2002, they made pieces like the Physique Douceur jacket that you see right over here. A lot of their other pieces as well, which I will include some pictures around here. You'll see it's mostly like pin tucks and very heavy cottons or very heavy fabrics. One thing that they sure love to use was that very heavy velveteen fabric, and they put a luxurious thick satin lining on the inside, so it just glides over your body. Even if it's a warm summer day, because of this lining, it won't really feel like it's way too warm. So some of the detailing that you can see on a piece like this, that you can see there's a lot of ruffle work that's you know, all around the collar over here, and it even goes through all around to the back, and it really cinches the waist, and then it creates a beautiful flowy effect over your dress with the little flap that's there on the back. And in the front, you can really see that the buttons were big, thick, velveteen buttons. Even the buttons, man, it was all coordinated, all beautiful. And so you really see the detailed work that goes into this. They weren't really big on prints at that point in time, and it was all about the construction of the garment and the quality of the fabrics that you use. So you could really see the quality in each and every piece. In 2003, they started releasing some of their more iconic pieces that you can still find relatively on the cheap. So this one is called Ange du Musique. I know. It should be Ange de la Musique instead in French if you really wanted to be kind of a stickler for it. Actually, it came with a big gros grain black ribbon, but I actually switched it out for a cream one because I thought that it fit with the dress a lot better. So you have a lot of ruffles and pin tucks going over here, and the rest of the dress is relatively simple, but it's a very thick cotton fabric, very, very, even in summer it might be a little too heavy for you. But one thing that really kind of represented the dress was the prints, which actually features one of the recurring themes in regards to Juliette Justine, which are angels or cherubs. They have them in most of their stuff. And of course, their beautiful lettering that they have kept using since then. So you can really see that type of detailing. The prints were still kept very minimal at that point in time, as Lolita wasn't even in like full swing in regards to prints yet. But you can really see that start to take off gradually, and you'll see it'll pick up speed as we go through. But the rest of their clothes was relatively like 2002. Very much into thicker fabrics, very luxurious feeling, minimal prints, and it was all about the quality of the garment. So yeah, 2003 is a pretty good year. In 2004, some of the prints that you would see would really be kind of print. It's not even a print. It was really more like a pattern or embroideries that you were starting to see. You could really feel it on the material itself. But they kept up with their very solid pieces that didn't necessarily have any prints on them, and this is one of them. So this is Parfum du Bonheur. What's really cool about this dress is, I don't know if you can see the size of that skirt, but it is huge. Like, if you have a big petticoat, it will follow you. So you can look like one of those over-the-top Victorian princesses, and this dress is going to suit you perfectly. A lot of the detailing is actually more in regards to like the upper portion. So there's a lot of lace going on in regards to shoulders, which creates a very nice effect where you look like you have a very small bodice because of the angle of the sleeves. And you have a lot of like the corset lacing up on top and a lot of the ruffles that creates a beautiful sweetheart neckline in regards to your bust area. So this is really, I've even worn it to the office. Like, if you don't wear a big petticoat and you wear some, you know, heels with that, it can look really classic, really beautiful. And this, once again, really kind of fits the aesthetic that they were using. They also like to use a lot of eyelet lace, which we could see on a lot of pieces at the time. They don't really use that anymore, so that's a little bit of a change that went through. But we'll see as we'll get to the future years. In 2005, we could see the cuts change a little bit. So instead of always being kind of an over-the-top Victorian type of dress, we would see kind of easier lighter summer dresses appear, and this is one of them. Still, the fabrics would be very thick, very, you know, very heavy, but the cuts themselves would get lighter, airier, and a lot easier to wear on the day-to-day. This is Entretien d'Amour, and one cool thing you will probably have noticed, it has pockets, which everybody loves. It has a beautiful sweetheart neckline, and the print that you see actually contains cherubs and angels, which are kind of the theme, right, that I just mentioned. So they are still being very true to themselves. And you have beautiful lace going on in all of the types of details, and the bottom is actually scallop. So there's a scalloped hem, which really creates a beautiful silhouette. This dress is super easy to wear to the airport, if you're on the go, like, it doesn't really matter. And fun fact, I used to own this dress in another colorway, and it was kind of the beige on beige, and I changed the, I actually sold that one and bought this colorway, which I think pops a lot more, but it's such a beautiful piece. They also created the first version of their Éclat du Croix, which is a crucifixion dress, and that one didn't catch on as much as the future versions, but we'll get to that because I own one of the first version that everybody went ooh on. But it was the first year that they really kind of dabbled into iconic prints that are still very much represented to this day. In 2006, they combined their love of heavy velveteen fabrics and prints. So there you got a first wave of their original prints that were such in high demand that they even ended up re-releasing them very recently. So this is the first version of Le Premier Cri du Prophète. So it has dragons on it, and a city, and a lot of beautiful, beautiful things. But this type of print is something that we were going to see for years to come with Juliette and Justine, but this was kind of the first wave. So even though the front seems pretty simple in regards to cuts, if we look at the back, there's actually kind of a waterfall of ribbons that are, once again, in that very thick velveteen fabric, which really adds to that beautiful silhouette. So they were kind of taking still Juliette and Justine of old and combining it with something new, something daring, something beautiful. So that was really the first wave of dream wish list items for a lot of people. In 2007, they started releasing different dresses on different price points. It was kind of a limited edition thing, and it was supposed to be a one-time thing, but they actually made to order Rose du Rêve, which is this dress right here. It was a lot more expensive than their usual brand line. I believe the original price was around 500 or 600 USD. Loliberry no longer has the records of the original price, and I bought it secondhand from around that price, I'm afraid to say, but it was such a limited release item, and I fell in love with it, and it was so beautiful. But you can definitely see this is Juliette Justine of old. Thick velveteen fabric, ruffles, lace, different layers. It even looks kind of like a dress coat, like it's a dress and a coat, but it's actually just a one piece, so you can't really undo different bits and pieces. But there's beautiful lace detailing. They have their beautiful thick ribbons that they will use for years to come. And so this type of dress was very much in vogue at that time. I'm going to include some pictures on the side of different trends that happened, but really this was very much Juliette Justine at that point in time, and that's where they got kind of the urge to start developing dresses that were more and more over the top. It was kind of the slow rise of the over-the-top classic Lolita style and aesthetic that we recognize to this day. So yeah, 2007 things were starting to be shaken up a little bit. So 2008 was the vintage year for Juliette Justine. Some of my most desired wish list items, including Intérieur d'Honnête et La Vie d'Aristocrate, were from that year. I still wasn't able to score these two pieces, so hey, if you have them and want to sell them, hook a girl up, right? But apart from that, other iconic pieces like L'Éclat de la Croix or Du Croix, the actual name is L'Éclat du Croix, but in French it doesn't really make any sense, started being released. So if you can see that print right here, you actually have crucified Jesus and Our Father written in Latin on the dress, but it's a beautiful T-length dress, which was kind of a new thing around the time. There weren't really a lot of dresses around that length, so it was really something that was very, very new. Once again, with those thick velveteen fabrics and that very luxurious satin lighting. They started creating a bunch of different dresses with very intricate prints, which is why a lot of my dream items are from that year. But they started also experimenting with some lighter fabrics in regards to their prints, like La Vie d'Aristocat is a lighter fabric. But still, it was very much indicative of that Juliette Justine of old. And it just feels so beautiful, and so I still love this dress to this day. So luxurious feeling. You can feel the print on the velveteen. Really, really a beautiful piece. Yeah, 2008 was it, man. I mean, they created a bunch of beautiful pieces afterwards, but a lot of my most coveted pieces are from that year. So, yeah, I love the trends of that year. Basically, that's when I started Lolita. I'm still kind of in love with the Lolita style of when I started in Lolita. It's funny how that happens, right? It's the first pieces you fall in love with, and it always stays in your mind as being this beautiful, mythical trend that you always kind of want to get to, even though trends have changed, and I've definitely gotten on the bandwagon. It's just a little different, right? But yes, 2008 was a great year. In 2009, you actually had some of those kind of more cottony fabrics instead of velveteens that were mixed with prints that were velveteen themselves, like the prints were in a velveteen type of fabric. This is Empreinte de la Genèse. It's actually the first Juliette Justine dress that I bought when they were off of Rakuten and I couldn't really order directly from their website. I actually ended up buying the coat for this dress because I was so in love with it. I believe the coat was released before the dress back in 2006, but yes, that aubergine color was just to die for, and you can see the detail in that print. It's just so Juliette Justine, and once again you have their name right there on the dress. And they still added a lot of different details, so it wasn't just like a straight cut with a print. They actually put some bows on top over here, so that's also something that Juliette Justine very much likes, to have different bows on the bust itself. But yes, 2009 was still a very good year. I'm going to include some pictures on the side so you can see other types of styles that they had around those years. But yeah, still thicker cottons, but experimenting with different types of fabrics and prints. 2009 is another year that I actually don't own any main pieces from Juliette Justine. I actually own a blouse, but it's not really the same thing, right? And it's not as visually interesting, especially considering that the blouse is just plain black. But it's basically the different types of dresses that they released around those times. The cuts were a lot simpler. It was a lot more Victorian maiden feeling, I find. Like some of the, I'll put some pictures on the side, but some of the dresses were a lot more maiden looking. And they also integrated some lighter fabrics with some nice florals and things like that. I still like the style. It just didn't come and get me in the I want to feel like a queen type of aesthetic, which I very much associate with Juliette Justine. But it was still a pretty good year, just not something that really resonated deeply with my aesthetics. In 2011, Juliette Justine started their biggest trend yet, a trend that would define them to years to come, even up till this date. And that was to create painting dresses, that's what I call it. So taking classical paintings or anything that looks like classical paintings and sticking it onto dresses to create kind of that classical aesthetic. It was really a driver in that over-the-top classical movement, and it's something that even other brands or Taobao brands are trying sometimes to recreate. So one of the dresses from that time is La Robe du Cadrage, I think it's called. And it's actually a dress that literally has paintings on it, but like several. And you can see that the choice of fabric also changed around that time. So this is just a one piece, it's like a tube top. What's great is that it can really fit a variety of different body shapes, but it's no longer that very thick velveteen or very thick cotton. They were going for more of a canvas feeling fabric, or even something like this with velvet. So they were really experimenting in regards to fabrics. I still very much like this style. It's just something that was so different from Juliette Justine of old. So really 2011 was kind of the year that I could say that things really changed. In a good way. I mean, change is good, but I still very much like the old Juliette Justine. So I'm going to include a bunch of pictures on the side over here so you can actually see, you know, how much of those painting dresses started getting created, but it was completely nuts. 2011 was really a hallmark year, really something different. 2012 was a continuation of their painting dress trend. So what we have over here is the Celia dress, which has a simpler bust line, but it still has a lot of details. You have lace and you have the bust bows, something that Justine does like to integrate. And then you have the skirt portion, which actually has a classical painting on it. So it's in a very light and chiffon-y fabric, so it's so comfortable to wear. A lot of the newer Justine dresses are so much more comfortable around summer actually, or any type of warmer months, because if you live anywhere in the world else in Canada, spring and autumn can actually be quite hot. Here it's always pretty much cold, but still these dresses are so light and flowy and fun to walk around in. So it was something very different than the very heavy and luxurious feeling dresses of old, but still have a bunch of very nice detailing and some nice lace. I'm gonna put some other pictures over here so you can see it, but really this is a new trend. It was here to stay. It was the new Justine. In 2013, they kept going with their portrait dress trend, but what was interesting is that they started experimenting with different fabrics. So one of the things that's really cool about this one, which is Le Portrait de la Dame, is that it's not just a plain fabric. There's actually kind of a pattern that they print and then they print it on top of it. So when you get close to the dress, it creates that really shimmery and beautiful effect. And one of the things that they started doing as well is instead of having like lace or, you know, different ribbons and things like that, they started printing on detail as well. So that's something that you'll see for years to come. Instead of having like the corset lacing going on, they might just print it on the dress, or instead of having lace, they might just print it directly on the dress, which does make it a lot lighter and a lot easier to wash, but it's something that you need to be aware of that's a little different than what they used to do, right? Another thing that they did is that they really started kind of selling underskirts around that time. So at the bottom of the dress, instead of having lace, you would just get a clean cut, and it's made so that you would wear an underskirt under it. And Justine was definitely at the forefront of that movement. They made underskirts trendy, whereas before it used to only be for really tall lolitas that couldn't really integrate it into their daily style. So tea-length dresses or underskirts, they really started to be trendy around those times. I'm going to include some other examples on the side so you can see. But really, it's a beautiful print, and one of the things that I love about this is that they created some kind of framing around it itself. So the different pleats that you have actually frame the portrait on the inside, and it really reminds me of a dress that they released later on, which is Paysage, but it's a really gorgeous, easy summer dress. And yeah, so 2013 was a good year where they started to kind of work with the portrait formula and create something very different. In 2014, they kept experimenting with the formula, so using portraits or bits and pieces of classical paintings, but using different fabrics. And this is Robe de Ange et Murmure. It features, of course, angels or cherubs, and the light chiffon fabric that they started using for a lot of their dresses. And a lot of their one pieces from this point onwards started having those beautiful light sleeves that just fall off of you naturally. What's really great about those types of sleeves is that if you're concerned about looking like you've got big arms, this is definitely a dress that is super flattering on you for that. But it's such a light, beautiful, airy fabric and has gorgeous golden details that really kind of remind me of the Renaissance. Really a beautiful piece. So they started experimenting more and more with their formulas and their cuts. Sometimes it's big prints, sometimes it's just small things, but really the cuts started changing and evolving and varying a lot. Another thing about 2014 is that it was really also another hallmark year for Justine. They started releasing kind of two different sub-brands, I guess, kind of a line that's more expensive and a line that's a lot more affordable. The more affordable line is kind of the regular price, so around $300 or $400 for a dress. But they started releasing dresses like these that were more around the $600 mark. This is Antique Doll, and you can really see why it's priced a little bit more expensive because there's a lot of chiffon detailing. The skirt is to die for. There's so much detail going on. It just has so much beauty and so much going on that we can definitely see why it's priced more than just a dress that is very simple, clean cut, and just has a print. So that's something that was really different. They started releasing regularly dresses that were a lot more expensive. We could see from Rose du Rêve a little bit earlier that they did release some limited edition, cheaper dresses, well, more expensive dresses, sorry, but this became a regular occurrence in 2014, so that was something very important to keep in mind. But it made way for dresses that were a lot more experimental, a lot more ornamental, and very interesting style-wise. In 2015, their baseline seemed to be using a lot of chiffon type fabrics. I'm going to include some pictures on the side so that you can see. But they also started re-releasing and remaking, literally, some old dresses. So for example, Fée d'une Fleur, which was an older dress that they had released at the time, that was very, very popular, was remade in a new form, which they called Soupir d'Ange. It's actually the dress that I'm wearing today, right now, and it's a lot of layers of chiffon and lace and details that we will get to in an instant. So I'm just going to get up so that you can see the movement. But if you can see how many layers of chiffon there are, it's like rose petals and very delicate. There's some ribbons, some bigger ribbons. Like, it's a beautiful silhouette that is unlike anything else that they have released. It's just so special. So very special to my heart. So much so that I have it in 2 colorways. I am nuts about this dress. I would have liked to get the original release as well of Fée d'une Fleur in that kind of aqua version, but there's only one person that I know that owns it, and she will basically never sell it. It's her right, I totally understand, but one day I would like to get the aqua version as well. But yes, so 2015, a lot of beautiful chiffon dresses, a lot of very varied colors and styles, and that's really one thing that we could see from Juliette Justine of old. They tended to stick to very classical colors, but with the newer and newer years, they tend to mesh a lot of colors together, really create a different type of aesthetic. Very dreamlike, very beautiful, very over the top. Basically, I'm a fan. I love Juliette Justine. I just will never stop wearing them, but yes, I love that year. 2015 was really great. 2016 was another year where I actually don't own anything off of that year, but they released some beautiful dresses like Solennelle and En Prière. They experimented with not only using classical paintings but also architecture into their prints, and they integrated also a lot of religious symbolism like plafond. So I'm going to include a lot of those dresses over here, but it's very much having prints, but then having that very expensive line have a lot of detailing, a lot of stuff going on, and then the more classical and easier to wear, cheaper alternative that has a lot of classical and beautiful cuts. But really, chiffon is the baseline. Ruffles are whatever is added onto it, but there's not as much pin tucks or lace or anything of that nature. It's really kind of all in the construction or the print itself. 2017 was another great year for Juliette Justine. They released a lot of beautiful prints that had a mixture of different types of colors, and the standout piece is the one that I have over here right now, Paysage. So it was released in different colorways, but my favorite was the lavender on green, and green print. It's a beautiful dress that has kind of a chiffon inner layer if you open it up, which has a landscape, and then it's within sort of a frame going on here, and there's a frame that goes down the bust and across the waist. It creates a beautiful neckline and a beautiful waist. It's extremely flattering, but you can see from the print that it's such a dreamy, beautiful colorway, and the mix of lavender and green is very daring, very rare that we see that put together, but it creates really a beautiful silhouette. They've recently re-released it, and I ordered it in the other colorway, which is the blue. I'm hoping that it's going to be as beautiful as this one, but I just went completely nuts over it. Such a beautiful print. So they released a lot of those types of dresses that had the sort of frame going on over the years, but it was really this dress that I absolutely fell head over heels in love with. It's just absolutely lovely. So 2017 was in fact a very, very great year for dresses and Juliette Justine in general as well. 2018 and 2019 were not as fruitful in regards to new releases, but they did re-release some of their older dresses and remake some of them, like Le Premier Cri du Prophète. I don't really own anything of those years, as I was mostly concentrating on the historical Juliette Justine, but I hope that this was still interesting to you guys to kind of see the construction of garments throughout the years, the different trends that happened, and also allowed you to reminisce a little bit about the status of Lolita fashion throughout the years, because I can remember a point in time where prints weren't prints were not really the standard and where dresses could only really be $300, but that time has long since passed. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that this was interesting to you guys. Let me know in the comments below which is the next brand that you would like me to tackle for Brands History. And as per usual, if you want to follow me on Instagram or Facebook at Elizabeth Fallen, please feel free to do so. And if you want to join this Baby Bat family and help me out on Patreon, please feel free to do so as well. The descriptions are going to be down in the description box. And thank you guys so much to people who are already patrons. It's really going to help me to get this show on the road on a more regular basis as well. As per usual, I hope that you have an amazing day and take care, guys. Bye.